Hi, and welcome back to Mosaics by Marisela. Today, I'm going to show you how I create my mosaic designs digitally using an amazing app called Procreate. If you're new to Procreate, it's a powerful digital drawing app made for iPads. It's popular with artists and designers because it's super intuitive, fast, and packed with creative tools. You can sketch, paint, design layouts, and basically anything you can imagine, all with your fingertips or an Apple Pencil. To get Procreate, you simply download it from the App Store. It's a one-time purchase, no subscription, and it gives you access to everything right away. What kind of iPad do you need? Procreate works best with any iPad that supports the Apple Pencil. That includes models like iPad Pro, iPad Air, iPad Mini, and the standard iPad. I personally use iPad Pro 11 inches, and in this video I'll walk you through how I sketch my mosaic layouts digitally and how that helps me plan before I cut or glue anything. Let's get started. Step 1 is coming up with an idea for your mosaic design. Sometimes I create just for fun, and other times I get commissioned to make a specific piece. In this video, I'll be working on a design for a mosaic that I plan to display on my outdoor wall in my patio area. My idea is to create a beautiful bird standing on a flowering branch. To get started, I collect a few reference photos to inspire my sketch. I always make sure to use free, royalty-free images that are safe to download and used for inspiration, not for copying. For this project, I found a pretty bird on Free Pig and a lovely cherry blossom branch on Pixabay. I'll include the links to those websites in the description below in case you'd like to check them out for your own designs. Now let's open Procreate. This is the gallery where all your saved projects are stored. To create a new canvas, tap the plus sign at the top right, then tap the small folder icon next to New Canvas. From here, you can set your canvas dimensions using different units of measurements. For this piece, I'm starting with a 4x6 inch canvas, which I'll scale proportionally later on when I'm ready to build the full-size mosaic. You'll also see something called DPI, which stands for dots per inch. That's the resolution. A DPI of 300 is perfect for crisp, high-quality work. Below that, Procreate tells you the maximum number of layers you can use based on your canvas size and resolution. For this setup, I can use over 400 layers, which is way more than I'll need for this project. And don't worry about the other settings on the left side for now. We'll keep it simple. Now let's take a look at the Procreate interface so you know where to find the tools you'll need to trace your mosaic design. To start drawing, tap the brush icon at the top right. This opens the brush library, where you'll find a wide variety of brushes included with the app. For sketching my design, I like to use HB Pencil, which you'll find under the sketching category. If you make a mistake, no worries. Just tap the screen with 2 fingers to undo your last action. To redo something you just erased, tap with 3 fingers. So, 2 fingers to undo and 3 fingers to redo. Next to the brush icon, you'll see a smudge tool. We won't be using it in this tutorial, but it's useful for blending or smudging lines. It's mostly used for illustrations or painting effects. Then we have the eraser tool, which works just like a brush. You can use it with any brush style you like. On the left-hand side, you'll see 2 sliders. The top slider controls the size of your brush or eraser. The bottom slider controls the opacity or how transparent the stroke appears. Next up is the layers icon, which looks like 2 stacked squares. Layers are one of the biggest advantages of digital art. They act like transparent sheets, allowing you to draw on separate levels without affecting other parts of your design. For example, if I draw a circle on layer 1 and then tap the plus sign to add a layer 2, I can draw a flower on top. They may look like one image, but each drawing is on its own layer. This means I can move, edit, or even hide one without touching the other. You can toggle a layer's visibility by tapping the little box next to it. Next to the layers icon, you'll see the active color display in a small circle. Tap it to open the color picker. I usually use the color disk mode. In the outer ring, you'll choose the hue or color family. And in the inner circle, you refine the exact color by moving the dot to the shade you want. And finally, to delete a layer, swipe it to the left and tap delete. By default, Procreate gives you a white background layer and one drawing layer, but you can always clear or delete them in the same way. Now that we are set up, let's start drawing the outline of the bird. To bring in the image I downloaded as a reference, I go to the wrench icon at the top left, that's the Actions menu. Then I tap on Add and choose Insert a File. From there, I look for the folder where I saved my image and tap on it to bring it into the canvas. Once imported, the image appears with a bounding box around it. This means we can adjust its size and position. But be careful, make sure Uniform is selected at the bottom of the screen. This keeps the image from getting stretched or distorted. Avoid the freeform setting unless you want to manually adjust proportion. I'm going to make the image slightly larger and move it to the center of the canvas like this. Once you're happy with the placement, tap the arrow icon or transform tool to exit the editing mode. At this point, your reference photo is on layer 1. To trace over it more easily, we'll need to lower the opacity of the layer. To do this, tap on the N icon on the layer, which stands for normal. That opens up the blend mode and opacity settings. Then slide the opacity bar to the left to make the image semi-transparent. Now add a layer tapping on the plus sign over here. Go back to the brush library, choose Sketching, and select the HB pencil. I usually start with a light color like a soft green or blue because it helps me see the lines better when I make adjustments on new layers later. Now I begin tracing over the image. As I draw, I focus on simplifying the shapes, keeping in mind how this will translate into a mosaic. So I reduce the complexity while keeping the essence of the bird. Once the first sketch is done, I add the reference photo by tapping the checkbox next to layer 1. That leaves us with our traced outline. Looking at it, I feel like it still has a bit too much detail, especially in the wings. So now I'll simplify it further. I tap the plus sign to add a new layer, then lower the opacity of layer 2, which contains the sketch I just drew, and pick a new color for tracing. On the layer 3, I go over the drawing again, refining the shapes, simplifying more, and eliminating small unnecessary lines. This version feels much better, cleaner, and more mosaic friendly. Speaking of birds, I have to share something fun with you. I've recently had a couple of feathery tenants move into the mosaic birdhouse I made not long ago. They've made their cozy little home. If you'd like to make your own mosaic birdhouse, you can check out the tutorial I posted here on my channel. Now back to sketching our design. Now let's work on the branch with flowers. In this step, I'll show you another way to use a reference image. Not by tracing over it, but by using it as a visual inspiration. First, tap the wrench icon, go to Canvas, and then toggle on Reference. A new window will pop up. Tap on Image and then choose the photo you want from your device's gallery. So make sure you have already downloaded the reference photo you want to use. Once it's imported, you can resize the reference window, move it around your screen, and zoom in or out as needed. This makes it easy to see details while keeping your canvas clear. Next, I create a new layer for the flower and branch sketch. If you like, you can name your layers to stay organized. Just tap on the layer and select Rename. This is especially helpful when you are working with multiple elements or refined versions. Using the reference image for inspiration, I begin roughing out the composition. I draw simple circles to mark where the flowers will go, and I roughly sketch the leaves to explore their size and placement. Once I'm happy with the layout, I lower the opacity of the layer called Flowers and add another layer to start refining the drawing. Now I zoom in the cherry blossom photo to get a better look at the details, the shapes of the petals, how the blossom cluster, the leaves, and even the little buds. I'm not copying exactly, I'm simplifying the shapes so they'll translate well into mosaic pieces. Remember, we're not creating an illustration, we are creating a design for mosaic outlines. So clarity and simplicity are key. Once I'm happy with the refined sketch, I close the reference window by tapping the little X. If you ever want to bring the reference back, you don't need to import it again. Just go back to Canvas, reference settings, and it will be there. Now it's time to create a clean outline for our final mosaic design. First, I create a new layer and rename it Outline Bird. Next, I choose my outline color. For this design, I'm going with black, which you can easily select by double tapping on the bottom corner of the color disc in the color picker. And then I go to the brush library, scroll to the inking category, and select the technical pen. This brush gives you a nice clean line, perfect for defining the shape clearly without worrying about texture or shading. You can always undo a stroke by tapping with 2 fingers or use the eraser tool to refine your lines. Now I begin tracing over my sketch. I try to make the lines clean and confident, but they don't need to be perfectly smooth. Remember, this is not an illustration, it's a guide for a mosaic, so clarity is more important than perfection. Once I'm finished outlining the bird, I create another layer and rename it as well. I continue tracing the branch and the blossoms using the same brush and black ink. Just to recap, I used a total of 7 layers for this project. If I toggle through them, you can see how the image evolved from a couple of reference photos to a completely original design. And that's really the beauty of working digitally. It gives you the freedom to experiment, adjust, and build your ideas layer by layer without starting over every time. Once you're happy with your outline, it's time to print your design. To do that, tap the wrench icon, then go to Share and choose, for example, PDF. When the quality options pop up, I usually select Good. This will automatically resize your image to fit the standard paper size of your printer. You can resize your design using your printer settings. If you need your design to be a lot larger, like I do in this case, you can simply send the PDF file to a local print shop. I've already sent mine to enlarge at around 40 by 60 inches for the outdoor mosaic I plan to make soon. Now, sometimes just for fun or to help me decide on a color palette, I like to roughly color in my design. To do that, I bring back the original reference photo I used for inspiration. I resize it using the selection tool as I showed earlier and place it in the top left corner of the canvas at full opacity so I can clearly see the colors. Then I create a new layer and pick a coloring brush. I like to use the 2B compressed brush from the charcoal category, but there are so many brushes available. Feel free to choose one that you enjoy working with. Next, I select a color and just start coloring. It doesn't have to be perfect. This step is meant to be fun and relaxing. The final mosaic might not match the colors exactly. It will depend on what materials I can find. I think I'll be using a mix of plates and ceramics for my tesserae. So we'll see. Stay tuned for a future video where I'll show you the process of turning this design into a real mosaic for my outdoor wall. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have questions or suggestions. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tutorials like this. Ciao for now!